Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Former President Donald Trump has once again been elected to become the new President of the United States of America as the 47th President of the United States of America. And most recently we saw there was a tough battle between the Democrat candidate Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, the Republican candidate, of course. Now, this is the transition period that is underway at the moment as we speak. And on 20th of January, President Donald Trump will be taking over the power as the 47th President of the U.S. What is going to be happening as far as foreign policy front, specifically when we talk about vis-a-vis China policy, is going to be for the next 4 years. We've also seen in the last tenure, from 2016 to 2020, during President Trump's presidency, the U.S. imposed trade tariffs on the Chinese goods, which actually triggered a trade war. Then we'll also be delving deeper into as to what could be the potential national security priorities as far as the Trump administration is concerned during his second presidency. In another major development, we have seen President Xi Jinping of China and the incumbent U.S. President Joe Biden have met during the APEC summit in Lima, Peru, and they have discussed a wide range of issues. Now, they've also talked about how this particular bilateral relationship, the dialogue and cooperation between the two sides was put on the right track. We are trying to we'll try to understand that what was the shift as far as the China policy under Trump administration was concerned and how it shifted during the President Joe Biden's and what could be expected for the next 4 years. For that, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Mr. Khalid Taimur Akram, international relations expert. Mr. Akram, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. What U.S. policy towards China during Trump's first tenure as compared to the incumbent administration's tenure the last 4 years, how different both were, or were both the same as far as the China's policy is concerned, particularly vis-a-vis when it comes to those security issues which have already been mentioned by Mr. Khan, and also in terms of trade?
Yes, I would agree with Ambassador Khan that last time Trump started with a very bumpy relationship with China by taking a telephone call from Taiwan, then placing restrictions on ZTE and Huawei, and then declaring Chinese cotton, the Chinese stringent cotton, which is considered to be the best in the world, to be restricted in US. And these kind of restrictions, we saw lots of restrictions by the US federal government. In total, during the Trump's time, there were 210 sorts of restrictions were put on Chinese trade, on Chinese companies, on visa regime, and many other things. And at the same time, we saw Donald Trump giving number of statements during this time, also during his election campaign. He wants that for 4 years to put a ban on import from China. He wants to increase the tariff without realizing this thing that if the tariffs are increased, then it's going to have implication within US, because the buyers will have to buy the same things at a higher price. I feel that Donald Trump this time will have to face with a more strengthened China, because China has in last 4 years China has gained a lot of space in the international diplomacy. China was instrumental in bringing Saudi Arabia and Iran together. China has been successful in expanding BRICS. China has been successful in expanding Shanghai Cooperation Organization. China is the one which has got together all the factions of Palestinian movement together, and China made them sit together, and so that if tomorrow there is a Palestine voice or Palestine agreement signed with Israel, it has to be one voice of all the Palestinian people. So neglecting China will not be an option for Donald Trump. But of course, as we know his nature and the erratic decisions which he had been taking in the past, So we may see some kind of erratic decisions regarding China. As far as the Biden administration is concerned, we have seen that in initial 3 years of his tenure, Biden did not pay any attention to China. The first time President Xi Jinping and Joe Biden met was during the APEC meeting last year during the same time. And at that time, Biden decided to give a friendship hand to China, but that was too late because the Biden administration had practically wasted 3 years. And we also saw that the 200 restrictions which were placed during the Trump time, Biden administration did not take any interest in lifting them. And although President Biden and President Xi Jinping just had a meeting at Lima, and now they are going to probably meet again in Brazil also during G20, but these meetings are meaningless because China also knows that this administration will be going another 60 days. So China is looking forward for a smooth transition, and this time we hope that President Trump will act more mature, and he will take China along with him if he has to resolve the Ukraine issue, and if he has to work on international politics, then this time he has to give more weight to China.
Mr. Akram, you already pointed out that it was some sort of a delay on the part of Biden administration when it comes to reaching out to China. And last year we saw that particular meeting happening in San Francisco between President Biden and President Xi Jinping. Was that delay, or the time loss that you already mentioned, was that deliberate on the Biden's administration?
I think yes, because the Biden administration remained very offensive towards China. We saw that they did not, although they had changed many policies which were started by Trump. For example, the immigration policy, the policy with Mexico and policy with Latin America, Trump was very hard on them, but the Biden administration was not that hard on them. But at the same time, with China, they kept all the policies which were taken by Trump administration. And we saw during the Biden administration, we saw that they did not give any kind of relaxation to the Chinese side. We saw the chief financial officer of Huawei imprisoned in Canada for almost 1.5 years. And then after the start of the Ukraine war, we never saw US reaching out to China for mediation or anything. US had been going solo everywhere. US had been trying to veto the Palestinian resolution, which was initially supported by China during the in the UN Security Council also. So the Biden administration did not grade China where they should have been. We saw very recently, we saw US Secretary of State going to China and advising China. It was quite funny to me that they advised China that you are going over capacity. They said, okay, bring your capacity to our level so that we can compete you. How can you say to a country which has worked really hard to reach to that capacity? The supply chain in China, the US companies going to China, China has not been asking them to come over here, starting from iPhone to the t-shirts and shirts and shoes, everything which is sold in US is Chinese made. It is one of the reason is this, because US in last 20 years after 9/11, they have been concentrating on the defense industry. Right now, the US economy stands on their defense industrial complex, and more wars in the world, the more US economy flourishes, whereas the Chinese economy is now totally based on their trade. And we must remember one thing, that now 155 countries and 30 organizations have already joined the Belt and Road Initiative. All the Latin American countries are practically part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. And the Chinese president's concept of the community of shared future. Then we saw in last 4 years, he has given the concept of global development initiative, global security initiative, global civilization initiative. So this time, once Trump is going to come in power, he is going to see a very new China, because China's presence in African countries. China's presence in Latin America has increased a lot in last 4 years. And now I think the US administration should, among themselves, they should sit and they should revisit the policy about China. And as I said before, that there will be no solution of Ukraine war or in Palestine issue without the active support of the Chinese.
So if more tougher stance on the part of a new Trump administration continues, what sort of implications it's going to have in terms of the implications on trade front in particular?
On trade front, China is, of course, China is going to have a setback because their products, if they land up in US and they will have more tariffs. So basically the consumer will get affected. But if Donald Trump decides to impose more sanctions on China, like for example, they can go to WTO for imposing sanctions, they can sanction Chinese cotton, they can sanction Chinese products. They are already in process of sanctioning Chinese chip, because there is a chip war also going on between China and America, because all the chips were they were made either in China or in Taiwan. But now US and Germany, in particular in European countries, they have made a big chip market. But China is using their local chips even in iPhone, because they are made in China. So will Donald Trump be able to convince his big business people to pull out of China? No. And we must, during this election, we saw a lot of role of Elon Musk. He is now he is very close to Donald Trump right now, and I see his big role in his administration, especially on the business side, on the trade side. And we see that right now China has accumulated the biggest reserves of lithium, and lithium is needed for the green energy, and especially Elon Musk, he needs lithium because his Tesla project is now going very fast. So all these things would accumulate, and I think this time Donald Trump will be forced to take a moderate view of China, and particularly people like Elon Musk and the business people around him will be forcing him to take lenient steps towards China.
Right. Mr. Akram, now this particular statement by the Chinese President Xi Jinping during this particular interaction with Joe Biden, China is ready to work with the new US administration to maintain communication, expand cooperation and manage differences so as to strive for a smooth transition of the China-US relationship. How do you analyze that?
Yes, because Chinese are here for business, because Chinese have spent more than $1 trillion for the infrastructure of Belt and Road Initiative, roads and railway and maritime networks. So now this is the time to start the trade. So as comparing the Biden administration and Trump administration, I would say that the Trump administration would suit China, because during the last Trump administration, he did not started any war. He did not backed any war. And for China right now, anywhere the security issues or the wars would hamper their Belt and Road Initiative program. We see the Russia-Ukraine war. It has badly hampered China's few corridors which were passing through Russia and Ukraine to on the European side. There is one corridor which China has made from China, Mongolia, Russia, and going towards Europe. That corridor work has already stopped since last 2 or 3 years. So if Trump is placing sanctions, Trump is giving statements to China, China would agree on that. China would keep low on that.
There won't be any retaliation, as Mr.
There will be retaliation, but the retaliation will only be restricted on the US front also. But if there are new wars, if there are new campaigns started in Middle East, or a war started in Iran or something like that, that would essentially hamper China's Belt and Road Initiative, because China has practically put in their everything in this project. And now if new wars are started in the region, in Middle East or the Ukraine war continues for more time, that is going to waste China's money, which they have been spending on the Belt and Road Initiative. So for them, the new administration, they would not only be looking America internally, but they would also be looking the American policies all over the world. And during the last 4 years of Trump, at least there were no new campaigns, there were no new wars, there were no new US-backed war-like initiatives. So that suited China, because in that time, China was able to expand its Belt and Road program to many, many countries. They were able to connect the countries together. And this is what Chinese aim is, to connect the countries together and to trade. Recently, China had their import exhibition in Shanghai, and almost 152 countries participated in that, including America. So China is open to all trade. China is open to all connectivity. China is open for all kind of this relationship. And during the Trump tenure, at least they will have a sigh of relief that if Trump can stop the Ukraine war or have a peaceful settlement in the Middle East, that would help China in expanding their Belt and Road Initiative.
Right. Mr. Akram, your quick last take regarding as to what could be the Chinese options if during Trump administration these particular red lines are not taken care of?
China, as I say, that China will take stringent actions. China is going to play a tit-for-tat game, because I think China is now in a economically in a position where they can twist arm, where they can put restrictions on their companies for going to US. They can put the restrictions on the companies within China, the US companies, that they can't take their money out of China. So they can put some economic restrictions on US, which are going to be very, very hard for US. So I think both countries need to have a rational approach, and they should come up with a solution which will have a win-win situation for both of them.
Mr. Khalid Taimur Akram, international relations expert, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. With that, we come to the end of today's show. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.